What is the biggest lie you've ever told? I have read the terms and agreements. It's too long to read. I just click the agree and continue. This works great until Apple sews your mouth to someone's asshole. Or when Disney says they're allowed to kill your wife and you can't do shit about it. Back in the days of shareware distribution on software, company decided to give $1,000 to anyone that read the EULA. It took 7 years before anyone noticed the free money sitting right there in the open. PC pit stop. We are all signing contracts that no one could possibly read all of them. At this point, I feel if you put out contracts that 99.999% of customers do no read, they are all invalid. Uber and Disney are starting to use these in court. I work in the mortgage industry and have previously worked for lawyers who facilitate real estate transactions. A lot of people don't read the documents provided and don't understand them. They just sign them and trust that the experts know what they're doing. They know that if they sign the papers and pay some dollars a month, they get a house. They don't care about the details beyond that. When I tell people this, they are astounded. A house is usually the most expensive thing someone will purchase, and some can't believe that people don't read the papers before signing. That's when I point out that most people don't read terms and conditions for anything. What are the T and C to have your credit card? What are the T and C to play video games via Steam? What are the T and C to listen to music via iTunes? No one reads or understands any of that stuff. Because of my employment background, I am better versed in legalese than the average person. I still can't parse a TOS easily. My niece died of a brain tumor earlier this year. She was 4 and we were very, very close. She was best friends with my daughter, who was a year older. I was holding niece's hand when she passed. When I got home that night, I wasn't ready to tell my daughter yet, did so the next morning, and she hugged me and asked if I was okay. I knew if I cracked even a little bit, I'd break down, so I hugged her back and said yes. Never felt more like a liar than I did in that moment. You were okay for her sake. Please don't beat yourself up over this. You could not shoulder her grief on top of your own in that moment. You gave her one more night of peace. And you gave her better help with her emotions by waiting until the next day. You are so strong and you should not feel guilty for giving her the gift of one last night without grief. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you. It helps to think about it that way. We still miss her every day. After my mom died, we took in my parents' 17-year-old dog because my dad couldn't take care of him. The dog lived another 2 years and passed away peacefully. Unfortunately, the week he passed away was the same week my brother's wife passed away from breast cancer in her 30s. I lied and said Casey the dog was alive for another 6 months. I even sent pictures and videos I had previously taken. My brother had grown up with Casey, and I think the news would have been too much when he was already devastated. I think there are good and bad lies. Sometimes you have to do a solid. I once told my friends I had a girlfriend when I didn't, just to avoid them trying to set me up on awkward dates. She's in Canada. You wouldn't know her. Ha ha ha, this one always gets me laughing because up here in Canada, the boys would always say, well, she's in the States. You wouldn't know her. When I was like 16, I found out that one of my sisters wasn't actually my sister. She was actually just best friends with my oldest sister growing up, and she lived with my family from when she was like 12 or 13 through 18. She and my oldest sister are 15 years older than me. Unfortunately, her parents wouldn't sign her over for adoption and didn't contribute anything for my mom raising her for 6 years. Weirdest part is that my family is predominantly fair-skinned, blonde with blue eyes, but the girl I thought was my sister was traditional Mexican with darker skin, dark hair, and brown eyes. My mom was always very tan and had darker hair throughout my childhood, so I thought that my other 2 sisters and myself were the odd ones out. I mean, that quite doesn't fit the question, but one could argue that you told the lie to yourself. Maybe this is the biggest lie they ever told. I convinced my friends I could speak fluent French. Thank God they never asked me to prove it. Tout de la frite. It's not about the size of the boat, it's about the motion of the ocean. Reminds me of a friend in school that told me he was fluent in German. I asked him to say something in German and he said, "Sprechen Sie Deutsch?" I asked him what it meant and he said, "Do you speak Dutch?" I did not tell him my grandmother taught me some German, but I still chuckle a bit at the fact he didn't know Deutsch is the German word for German. My grandma was a nurse in WW2 and always used to say that she took care of Dutch soldiers. It took embarrassing myself in high school with some of her example phrases to figure out that she didn't speak Dutch, she spoke German. She was a nurse for POWs and kept up a facade. Puts her stories about marriage proposals from her patients in a different light. I'm fine when I really wasn't. May not be my biggest lie, but it's the longest running one so far. This one is big not in terms of impact, but just in how widespread it was. For years in school and beyond, when I was asked to share an interesting fact about myself in an icebreaker, I lied and said I could ride a unicycle. The first time I did it, I was blanking, and the girl who spoke before me had said she could juggle. So I just went with another circus talent and stuck with it. It turned out to be a handy lie, since no one ever had a unicycle on hand to prove me wrong. I almost got caught once when someone remembered I'd said that during a house party and pulled an old unicycle out of their garage. But luckily for me, it hadn't been used in years and the tire was flat. Eventually, I realized that the lie had itself become an interesting fact about me, and so now when asked for an interesting fact, I tell this story. Probably saying I'm on my way when I haven't even left the house yet. We've all been there, right? Yeah, I'm totally right behind that corner, man. That adults are mature and know better. In reality, most of the time, they don't. I was told all my life to respect adults. Simply BC, they are older. Most of the population are straight-up dumbasses. I overslept, which is why I was late to work. I just wanted to eat cereal at home instead of paying for breakfast at the office. I told my mother that it was okay that I was alone with my grandmother when she died. In truth, it hurt a lot more to watch her die than I imagined. I held her hand and looked into her eyes when she passed, and that look on her face is seared into my brain. When I was in 7th grade, my friend dared me to carve my name in the stone base of the flagpole in front of the school. The principal called me into his office the next day and asked me why I defaced school property. I convinced him that I couldn't possibly be stupid enough to carve my own name on school property and that it was obviously someone trying to set me up. I had always been a pretty well-behaved kid, so the principal bought it. That's when I learned that you need to save your lies for when you really need it. When my oldest of 2 sons was around 4 years old, I noticed he was brushing his teeth like he claimed he was. Nothing I could say or do, threats, bribes, just nothing. I just let it go for several weeks while I pondered different tactics. I finally came up with the perfect idea. One starry night, I asked my 2 boys if they wanted to go outside and check out the stars. While outside, I asked my boys if they knew where stars came from. Both said, "God makes them." I said, "He does. The tooth fairy takes children's teeth to God and he turns them into stars. The healthier the tooth, the brighter it shines." My oldest is just amazed at this newfound knowledge while searching the heavens. Then he points at a dim star and says, "Wow, somebody didn't take care of their teeth." After that, my oldest began spending a lot of time on his teeth. When I was a kid, I told my parents I needed glasses because I thought they made people look smart. I went through a whole eye exam pretending I couldn't see anything just to get a pair. Spoiler, they figured it out when I started reading street signs from the back seat on the way home. Once my brother locked me out of our house when we were kids. Our back door had a plexiglass window. I scratched "brother's name is a loser" in it. My mom came home later, saw it, and flipped shit. I blamed it on a neighbor my brother was friends with. She banned him from coming to our house. I'd feel worse about it, but the friend was even more of a prick than my brother was. At that age, we're cool now. I came clean a few years ago, like 30 years after it happened. Not that big, I suppose. Never liked lying, generally. When I was first working in a theater and I said, "I know how to use a driver," I in fact did not know how to use one and burned myself on hot screws multiple times. But hey, you live, you learn. Fortunately, the shop manager realized I was being stubborn and taught me how to properly use it. When I was in 7th grade, I got this bright idea to follow a soap opera trope by telling everyone I had a brain aneurysm. My English teacher felt sorry for me and bumped my grade up enough so I could get a letter for a letterman's jacket. It still humiliates me to this day whenever my parents bring it up. In 6th grade, I convinced my teacher that I couldn't do my homework because we were renovating the ground floor of our house. We were renovating our kitchen, and we were living in a tent in the backyard because we couldn't go up and down stairs. She believed me, and I got away with months of no minimal homework, up until the first parent-teacher day. We were getting our first snowfalls around then, and the teacher asked, "Isn't it getting cold?" Which led to the lie being discovered. I'd honestly forgotten I'd told her by that point, but she'd been cutting me slack and my dumbass self had been happy to go along with it. One time, as an offhand joke, I told a girl that I was talking to that I lost one of my testicles as a young boy. Mind you, I'm not making light of anybody's situation, I just said it because I thought it would be funny and I was a dumb 16-year-old. She was incredibly sympathetic to me and I went along with it for the day. Then, the next day, I forgot about it. I never cleared it up and confessed it was just a joke. So time passes by, we didn't work out, we drifted apart as friends, Stop seeing each other around, blah, blah, blah. Then I bump into her one day and we start talking. The stupid teenage brains that ruined our shot at a relationship had matured, and so we decided that we could try the whole thing again. To my delight, it went well. Really well. We went on several dates, took it slow, and eventually became a real relationship. Then one night, things got steamy, and I won't go into too much detail, but when she unwrapped the package, she looked utterly shocked. 2 balls. Now, I have to say, at first my ego was through the roof because no woman had ever gazed at me with such awe and shock in my life, and it kind of made me feel like a god, like an idiot. I tried dirty talking in response to it, at which point she said very loudly, "They grow back!" Naturally, I had no recollection of the dumb joke I told over a decade ago, and my mind was racing trying to decipher the somewhat cryptic exclamation. Meanwhile, she grabbed the grapes and started inspecting them with an intensity that I'd never seen anybody treat a pair of balls with. Finally, I asked what the issue was, and she told me. I felt like a real monster. I felt like I'd lied to this girl for over a decade, despite the fact that I only said it one time and forgot about it as a joke. She said she had never brought it up after that because I seemed like it was a sore subject. In a way, I found it really endearing that she remembered something so stupid for so long about me. Made me feel heard. I mean, what happened after you told her the truth? She was cool with it. She laughed for a long time, but she understood that I didn't intend on lying for that long. She was a very good sport about it. Okay, but are you married now? Nope, not married. You know how it goes, some folks just aren't meant to be. We are still great friends though. Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe and comment. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.